You claimed in your now famous interview that there was a conspiracy to out you as the board of directors, that it was completely fabricated, what was recounted of your racist language on the phone call. And you've claimed that those who perpetrated this conspiracy against you should be in jail. Do you still stand by those statements?
Well, let's go to the last. As a shareholder, you really can't put a board of directors in jail. Now, you can take their homes if they violated the duty of loyalty and duty of care, which they have on multiple cases. So we'll see how that plays out in the courts. But you can't really, as a shareholder, put them in jail.
Okay. Well. Anyway, I understand you're just speaking at a matter of speech, but the conspiracy, the fabrication, these are people at the highest level of the company who have conspired to ruin your life. In short, right? Do you agree with that statement?
I do agree with that statement.
And so, is this the day of reckoning you spoke about?
Well, if you're a franchisee or an employee, that we just talked about two of them, 20 years and 25 years, God bless them. I mean, yeah, that's the day of reckoning when you lose, your career, you lose your job. Franchisees, I mean, they are, this is very painful for me to watch. We had, you've seen the trajectory on sales and profit, and now you've seen it crash.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's very hard for me to sit back with my hands tied. No matter how much money I spend or what I try to do to help them, my hands are tied. I'm no longer running the ship.
You can't help
So it's hard to watch this because when you built the machine and you have people around you that help build the machine, cause and effect, trial and error. And you watch some of the things that are going on with people that have never been in the business, and you watch people get hurt. I mean, hurt bad. That's sleepless nights, and there's a lot of those, yeah.
You referred to a day of reckoning for the board of directors. What did we mean? What is the reckoning? I heard rumors that the phone call, the Notorious phone call, for example, you got a copy of that. Is that true?
Yes. What question you want me to answer first?
So, do you have the recording?
Yes.
Does it exonerate you?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Can we hear it?
I don't know if you can hear it. I can tell you what it says. Okay. You need to listen to the whole tape.
What happened? Tell me about that conversation.
When this went down on the 11th, the company or myself didn't have the tape. Laundry service had the tape. The company got the tape within 10 days, the call, but they wouldn't let me hear the tape until the next year, February of 19. So I was pretty sure what I said, and I know my heart. I know how I feel about this issue. I wasn't real worried about what I'd said because I wouldn't say anything that was going to put any of us in jeopardy. What I said was I never used the word.
Mm-hmm. But you used the word.
I said Colonel Sanders used the word.
But did you use the N-word?
I said Colonel Sanders
used
the N-word.
Yeah.
I never used that word.
Yeah, but you used the word.
I said the word.
Yeah, you said
in
that.
reference to him.
Into the word.
Yes.
What?
It's a little
in a confidential meeting with the ad agency that was supposed to be setting me up to protect this very thing. So the meeting was to make sure something like this didn't happen.
So they should have said to you, well, Papa, you shouldn't, even when you're referring to the word, you shouldn't say the word. But what they did, as I understand it, is they recorded this call that was meant to be for racial sensitivity training.
Correct.
And leaked it. Is that
it's a little worse than that.
Pardon me? Who leaked it? Like, how did it get out?
We don't know. That's why we filed the lawsuit.
Wow.
Laundry Service in their response said they didn't leak it. But Forbes got the data from somewhere. So I don't know if they got it from Papa John's. I don't know if they got it from an executive of Papa John's. We're not sure.
Who was on that call? Well, I guess someone on the call was recording it.
Yes. We didn't know the call was being recorded. That's the bad news. It was secretly recorded. The good news is they recorded the call. Because what I said was not anything anti-racist.
I understand. You said you used the N-word, but you used it in the context of explaining that you're not racist.
Well,
although, can you see that some people would be offended that you would use the word at all? I've gotten into that very issue myself, and I can see where they're coming from in that when you use the N-word in the context of saying, "Oh, I would never say that," but you said it. You did say it when you were saying, I would never say it.
Yeah, the thing about the call was like 50 minutes.
50?
50. And the call was extremely positive about, my position, the history, how it was brought up on, anti-race, period. There's no tolerance for it in my family and in my upbringing. And it finally came up again at the end. I said, listen, so-and-so uses the word. I never used the word. Let's get off the word. They recorded it. And
You feel like they were trying to set you up? They kept trying to get you to say the word?
Yeah, I think.
Interesting.
I do. I think they were trying to agitate me. Yeah.
What did they say to agitate you?
They just kept pushing and pushing. They kept bringing up the comments that were made back in November on the NFL conference call, which there's nothing in that call that's even sort of provocative. The franchisees, the head of franchisee association will tell you that it was innocuous, it was benign, and yet they stirred that up and somehow painted that into the race corner. And the company didn't do anything to defend that or to straighten that out or to point out that it was mischaracterized. So that was kind of the first clue that hey, if they're going to go down this road, we've got to make sure we have a plan in place to prevent this from getting out of hand by being not truthful. And that's what happened.
So did you when you were on this call, it sounds like you now perceive it to be the intention of that call was to incriminate you, not to train you.
Well, if you look at at the time I had 31% of the company, how do you oust the founder, Papa John, from his own company? And there's really no way to get that done except paint me in the race corner. And what the company learned with the Obamacare and the NFL comments is if they did nothing, social media in itself would take me to that spot, which was a very bad spot. And it just gave him an excuse to get rid of me.
But why would they want to get rid of you? Because now that you're gone, clearly nobody. Could anybody have benefited now at this point from you being gone?
No, nobody has benefited.
Yeah.
It's a lose, lose, lose. And I think until this gets clarified and the public can digest really what happened, I think it's going to have consequences on Papa John's business health. But let me finish. The company, when you're good at something, you make it look easy. And we just had a really good team, and we've been doing this for 35 years. It's kind of like doing what you all do. You just know what you're doing, and you're good at it. We had a board and leadership that thought, okay, we can run it a lot better without John. And, it's intoxicating. I mean, $150 million a year, Papa John's, helipad on the building, all that. It's intoxicating. And power and control and greed is alive and well in corporate America. So their mindset was, let's get rid of John. To your point, let's pretend like he never existed. Let's take the company over. They had a bunch of self-interest. Each individual had different self-interest with different characteristics of taking the business over. And we'll just take it over, and life will be grand without him.
So you think it was a conspiracy by the entire board of directors?
I don't exactly know.
Right.
We've tried twice. We had a lawsuit. It's called a 220, but basically it's a lawsuit to get the documents. The company hasn't given us any documents.
What kind of documents would you say?
I want their emails. I want their faxes.
It's like a subpoena.
I want their texts. We won that ruling.
You did?
We did win that
So
ruling.
how does the court enforce it when they refuse?
It has not been enforced.
Oh.
And the chancellor called Burchard, and he's the guy I wouldn't want to mess with, frankly. And for him to rule in our favor to get those documents, and yet the board has handed over no documents, I wouldn't want to be in the board seat. And then we filed a second lawsuit with laundry service. And that's simply to get to the bottom of, get to the truth, the day of reckoning, as you say. What happened here? How did they do this? And I think what you're going to find is at different levels, there was the different agendas and different goals. The folks at corporate had one goal, keep their jobs, get John's money, be the seat. Then the board had another goal. They wanted to be chairman. We had one board member that had a conflict. He took over the marketing, et cetera, et cetera. And then you've got laundry service, which was Wasserman and Goodell. And they have another agenda, which is probably to shut me up and to take the company.
You're Julius Caesars. You're the pizza emperor.
Yes.
And guy, what was the name of your
Richie.
Richie was Brutus. Is that a good analogy? Did he stab you in the back?
That's probably the best analogy I've heard on
the stairs of the
Richie.
Senate?
No doubt about it.
Wow.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That was painful. I mean, Steve had been with the company 20 years. Hired him at $6 an hour. Last year he made $6 million.
Nice
and
payday.
And then he, pulls a stunt like this. But that's something he's going to have to live with.
And you haven't spoken to him at all.
No.
Yeah, not good blood. What would you say to him if you saw him?
Oh gosh, what would I say to him? I don't think I'd have to say anything. I think I would he knows how disappointed.
You would look at him.
He knows how disappointed I am in him, and he knows how disappointed he is with himself.
Steve feels bad?
I don't know, but this guy hurt a lot of people. We mentioned two, but literally thousands of people have gotten hurt by Steve Ritchie's selfishness and ambition and disregard for the team and other people. But the guy's hurt a lot of people.
So much intrigue to unravel there. So much interest at play.
A lot of drama.
Yeah, a lot of drama.
Yeah, portrayal.
This must be exhausting. And you're at the center of it. It's very Shakespearean. Do you feel like you're in the middle of a Shakespearean play?
Betrayal is an interesting...
on that scale, though.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's fascinating. It's an education. I just wish it wasn't me.
Do you ever wonder why you? I mean, what did you do to incite such betrayal? I mean, do you find yourself wondering how how could this happen? I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, Papa John's is the American dream, and when you look at power, control, greed, envy, you have that in spades. Failure is in some ways easier than success because, everybody wants a piece of success. And Papa John's was the pinnacle,
Right.
Papa John's Pizza, American Dream.
Third biggest
apple pie.
pizza chain in the world.
Yeah. And I think that makes things more tempting for people to get intoxicated again and to do silly things. But to answer your question, I thought this could happen. And I prepared for it physically, intellectually, and
What
financially.
do you mean physically?
Well, you have to go through what I've gone through the last 20 months. You better be on your game. You better be rock solid because you're taking a lot of shots, and so you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your.
You look healthy. You in therapy?
No, probably should be, but no.
Yeah, you should be. You've been through a lot. Are you embarrassed to talk to a therapist?
No, I've talked to therapists before. I think you need a good therapist.
Yeah.
In times like this. And,
You got a good dog with you, who I just met.
Yeah.
That's good.
But I knew this could happen. I thought this was going to happen.
How long were you suspecting?
You feel it. If you're an entrepreneur, you sense things. You sense the iceberg in front of you miles and miles before everybody else does. So I knew this, but I thought it would come from the outside in. I thought it'd be a hostile takeover, somebody coming in and doing something crazy. I didn't know it would be from the inside. I didn't know that the people on the inside were capable of doing something like this.
So you didn't anticipate what really.
And here's why: people always act in their self-best interest, and the way they've gone about this, like John or don't like John, the way they've gone about this has hurt a lot of people. It's hurt my employees. It's hurt my franchisees, suppliers. This has not been a win for anybody. And I knew if they did something like this would be bad for them because it's stupid. This really is stupid. I mean, if you're going to get rid of the founder, do it over a period of time. Don't take him, outside, kick him to the street in one day over something he didn't say. I mean, they manufactured this and then they did what they did. But I didn't realize that they weren't intelligent enough to realize that by doing what they were doing, they were actually hurting everybody else. I missed that piece.
Let me go back to the I'm just so intrigued by the phone call because when we go back to the phone call on that fateful day, everything happened so fast, right? Like I read that on the same day that was it the same day the phone call happened that you were removed from the board of directors?
No.
So how much time passed?
The phone call happened on May the 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Ritchie fired the agency laundry service on the media side the next day. And I went, what are you doing? I mean, because they're going to think that I fired him. They had a tough conversation with the CEO of laundry service that Friday. And then 2 weeks later, the owner, Casey Wasserman of laundry service, called and said, if you don't give us $6 million, we're going to bury your founder because we taped the call. So
Wow.
So they tried to extort the money. Papa John's didn't give in to that demand. And then since Papa John's didn't give the guy the $6 million, they went public with it on July the 11th. So there are a couple things there. First of all, there was a pretty good time distance between the May call, May the 23rd, and July the 11th. And second of all, Papa John's board or management didn't do anything to make sure that the founder and the brand spokesman were protected. In fact, Papa John's did just the opposite. When all this hit Forbes, Papa John's piled on instead of defending. And
So why did Richie fire the media company the day after the call?
I think, again, he used me as an scapegoat to say, well, the reason that we fired you is because John didn't want you around, which is, I had nothing to do with that.
But was he privy to what was on the call? I don't
he was on
understand.
the call.
Oh, he was on the call. So was there outrage expressed? Were people offended on the call?
No.
Or after the call? It was all gravy.
No.
So why would he have the presence of mind to fire them the next day? I just don't understand. Like, what was his justification being like, it had nothing to do with the call when he fired them? Or it did?
I think the folks in marketing realized that laundry service was the wrong firm to buy the media. And so Richie just kind of used that as an excuse to do something he should have done anyway.
Okay, so
I can speculate.
It was unrelated to the call.
I would be speculating.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So he fires them, and then how much time passed before they blackmail the company?
A week or two, that's when they demanded the $6 million. Casey Wasserman. Richie said he was belligerent on the phone if he didn't get his $6 million.
You know, with a name like Laundry Service, you guys could have been more skeptical. It sounds like they're laundering money. Sounds shady to begin with, the Laundry Service. But I'm assuming this is a big, reputable media company. What does it mean to buy media?
Okay, in marketing, there's at least two disciplines. With social media, maybe a third. One is you actually create the ads, creative, and shoot the ads. The second is you have the money to run the ads. The creative is maybe a $6-7 million a year account. The media buy is maybe an $80 or $90 million a year account.
And that was all going through them.
Yes.
So there was a lot of money going through them. There was a lot at stake by firing them. They were losing a lot of money.
Yes, and see, a little bit worse than that because laundry service had hired a lot of people thinking they were going to get the media side of the business. That's my understanding.
Oh. So they had invested heavily in Papa John's, and then when they were fired, you think it provoked them because it would put them in a very rough position?
I don't know a lot about this because I wasn't involved, but I do know that they were worse than provoked. They were very upset that they lost the media side of the business.
And so then they come a week later and say, pay us $6 million, which I'm just going to assume is what they spent preparing or something, maybe. And if I'm just trying to justify their actions, they're like, yo, we spent $6 million in Papa John and you pulled the plug on us. So pay us the money or we're going to release this tape of the founder. And instead of, so Papa John's doesn't pay. Now, did you know that they were threatening the company? Because you were on the board of directors at the time. Richie was the CEO. So did you know that they were threatening the company? Was that public knowledge among the board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we knew that.
And were you scared? I mean, what was your response?
I didn't like the whole situation.
Oh, yeah.
Because I hadn't had a lot of involvement with laundry service. I didn't like the fact that Richie had fired him the day after the call.
Right.
I didn't like the fact they taped the call secretly and didn't.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, when they told me that they want $6 million or they're going to bury the founder, they have a tape, I actually went, thank God they got a tape. The tape will protect me because I knew what I said that was a good tape for me because it was a very positive meeting.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter because nobody's heard the tape. And
Right.
the damage has been done.
Well, laundry service doesn't want anybody. The damage has been done.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
The tape exonerates me. I mean,
You have the tape.
I don't have the tape.
You do not have the tape.
Yeah.
We
But
don't.
attorneys have the
you
tape.
have heard it.
I have not heard the tape.
You have not.
But I have people that represent me that have heard the tape. The tape helps me.
Okay.
I wish the tape was made public
Yeah, me too.
because Papa John's and laundry service do not want that tape public because it's gonna depict a whole different picture than what was depicted with Forbes in the media.
So how was it reported first that laundry service came to you guys with this tape and said, pay us $6 million or we're going to release it? How did you first hear about that? Richie told you. He called you?
He called me, or I was just there. We went in his
in
office.
person?
Yes, in his office. And see, if Richie knew, Carolyn Euler, the GC, legal counsel, knew, and then the board would have known that Washington wanted $6 million or he was going to bury us. Now, we owed laundry service between $1.5 million and $2.5 million. So we did owe him some money. I don't want to say the $6 million was,
blackmail necessarily.
But it was extortion.
But how is it not? So I mean, extortion is illegal. So how is it that you guys weren't able to press charges against them?
Why would Papa John's put me in that situation? Why would they not call the FBI?
Right. Why wouldn't they call the FBI?
You got to call the
You're
FBI.
Being extorted.
Yeah, your founder's on the line. They're paying him in a box that and it's something he didn't say, and he's not. And at the same time, once it comes public on a false narrative, then they bury me further. So the question is, was Papa John's in on this? Yes. Was Richie and Shapiro in on this? Yes.
That's intense.
But remember, I'm hammering on Goodell. I'm telling the Goodell to get his act together.
So who's Goodell again?
Goodell's the commissioner of the NFL.
Oh, right.
And I'm telling, Goodell is personal friends with Wasserman. They watch each other, kids and so forth.
Because they do all the media buying for the NFL.
So you got me hammering on Goodell, get your act together.
About the kneeling.
I didn't say anything about the kneeling. I just said to resolve this to the players' and owner satisfaction. He's friends with Wasserman. Wasserman owns laundry service. So you
were pissing a lot of people off.
I don't know if I was pissing a lot of people off. I was pissing Goodell off.
You're pissing powerful people off.
Goodell for sure.
And
I think the fact that we were in 4 universities with free market and entrepreneurship, that probably upset a few folks on that side of the equation. But I think Richie was going to lose his job.
Which he did, right?
Yep. Kirtley wanted to be chairman of the board. Shapiro, he wanted that $40-50 million a year in marketing that we talked about. Goodell wanted me to go away. And Wasserman was pissed because he lost the media business. So I think you have a bunch of odd events.
In the middle of a hurricane.
Middle of a bunch. And look at the sentiment at the time with the public. You have all these movements that are going on that are we just fell right into it. And instead of the company being there to help and protect the brand, the spokesperson, they kind of piled on.
Right. Were you not able to call the FBI yourself?
We did. We have called the FBI. The FBI is looking at this, but I mean, you got to have cooperation from corporate and from laundry service. That's why we filed the lawsuit. See, the lawsuit will get a lot of discovery. A lot of the things of the day of reckoning, the truth will come out in this lawsuit.
I'm fascinated by this first meeting with Richie. When you sat down in there, what did he say? I'm so interested by that. When at the time you thought he was a friend, an ally.
We'll keep this pretty high level and move quick on this. But the meeting was supposed to be a meeting on the creative because they were going to put me back in the ads. They took me out of the ads from September, October, up till now. We're talking, June, July timeframe, maybe May. But we were going to go back in the ads, and so we went back in the ads, and we wanted to make sure on a PR front we were ready in case the race card came up because of the kneeling controversy. The meeting was supposed to be on creative, the other aspect of marketing. So I walked in thinking it was a creative meeting, and the first thing they put down is a sheet of paper.
How many people were there?
5 or 6 of us.
Okay, board members.
No, not just executives. And my assistant was there. Richie was there.
Okay.
A guy named Joseph Stein from Laundry Service was on.
Okay.
On
so he was there.
Yeah.
What was he doing there if he was threatening you?
Well, that was Wasserman. Remember, that's 2 weeks after the call.
Right. But wasn't okay? Go ahead.
May the 22nd.
About the original conference call, not the threatening call.
Oh, that's okay. So
we're meeting on the May the 22nd. We think it's a marketing meeting. Okay, and it turns into be the first. They put out a deck and said the first question is, "Are you a racist?" And I'm like, "Whoa. I know it's a setup."
Go ahead. No, I'm fascinated. They say, "Are you a racist?"
Are you a racist? And I looked around. I'm going, "What word of this?" I thought we were going to talk about creative. And he said, "No, we're going to talk about anything to do with race and PR in this meeting because you're going to go to Chicago Sunday for some interviews. And I said, well, who else? How long have you all known we were going to do this meeting? And they said, well, about a day and a half or 2 days. I said, well, why didn't you all give me the agenda?
You were irritated from the
I was
beginning.
irritated because they pulled a fast one right from the get-go. So they're just trying to agitate and agitate and agitate.
What other kind of questions on there? I mean, that's a hell of a way to start a sensitivity meeting. Are you a racist? Wow.
Yeah.
And how? And the call was for 50 minutes long.
50 minutes.
And what other kind of questions do you recall them asking?
Upbringing, how I was raised,
It wasn't really sensitivity. They were prodding.
Yes.
And did you get a sense that there was something off about the meeting?
I never got comfortable with the meeting, but to the point where I was a little bit careful about my responses because I didn't feel good about it. But
Yeah.
and the comment at the end, nobody thought anything of it. Hey, y'all got to knock this off. Colonel Sanders calls black people the N-word. I never used that word, so let's just stop.
But in their mind, they're like, we got him.
That's what I think you're right.
Wow. And so, fast forward a week later, when you walk into Richie's office and he tells you that the company's being extorted, what was that meeting like?
I go, what do you mean? And he said the guy was going off the deep end. He was belligerent. That was the word Richie used. I said, why is he belligerent? He goes, he wants his $6 million because he's got a tape that says, you said the N-word. I said, well, I didn't say the N-word in the context. I said, I never say that word. And I said, the tape's going to help us, Steve. And then so from, the end of May, 1st of June to the first week of July, they tried to get it resolved. So the lawyers are going back and forth. So I guess they didn't get it resolved until the end of July.
So when they decide to make it public, what did they? They never actually released the tape. They just made an announcement. Like, what did they announce? Because the tape has never been released. So what actually did they say?
When I got off the aircraft coming back from Columbus, Ohio on the 10th, 5 o'clock, Carolyn Euler called me and said,
Who's that?
The GC at Papa John's. And because she was trying to get the matter resolved, or so she said, with laundry service. She said the head of HR for laundry service is talking to Forbes about the use of the N-word. And that's the first notice I got. And a couple hours later.
Your heart sink?
Yeah, I went, oh gosh, here we go.
Yep, you knew it was
I
coming.
but I didn't know that the people on the inside that I thought were protecting me were actually setting all this up. And then Forbes called at 8 and said, we're going to run this article. Do you want to comment? I said, well, let me see the article. He said, well, you don't get to see it. You see it in the paper tomorrow morning at 5:30 and next day at 5:30.
Did you leave a comment?
No, I didn't. I didn't see the article.
Right.
I mean, I didn't know where they were headed.
Do you regret not giving a comment?
No, because I had no idea what was going on.
Right.
Yeah.
But you knew that you probably knew at the time it was going to be Papa John said the N-word. Is that what you expected? Or is that not what you expected?
Knowing what I'd known through the NFL before, when I said, let's settle this between the owners and the players' satisfaction, and they turned that into race, I knew that it was a very dangerous position for me to be in. I knew this was not good. I did not know my own company and an agency who was hired to keep this from happening were in on this to actually make it worse, not better.
So were you shocked when you read the article in the morning?
I was shocked at the headlines. And,
Right.
I was like, wow.
Do you remember the
headline?
headlines, what they said?
The headline played up the use of the N-word. It made it sound like that I'd called somebody,
Right.
word.
It's
versus-
just Papa John used the N-word.
Yeah, they made it accusatory nature when what I said was, I don't use that word, so let's not use that word. In fact, if I go to dinner and somebody uses that word one time, don't say the word, and I'll get up and leave dinner. I'll literally, and I've done that more than once, but it's just not a good word. So don't use the word. I don't use the word.
How many times I guess I've never been at dinner with somebody who used the N-word.
I don't know if it's an area.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dinner, cocktails, whatever.
Does it
Yeah.
happen? Does it happen?
Oh, it's happened in the past.
Yeah, but it's a different lay of the land.
Yeah.
You think people? I mean, in L.A., I guess people are more conscious. But you think there's still a lot of racism out there in your parts?
No, I don't think it's prevalent, but sometimes you get somebody that's had a few drinks and
they
they get a little
just-
sloppy, and
yeah,
it's
you're
like,
like,
it's
hey.
not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
If it was part of their vocabulary, they wouldn't be somebody I'd associate with
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
But some people think it's cute or funny or whatever.
try to be
and-
edgy.
Yeah, and it's not.
Yeah. So the headline comes out. It's shocking. The shock back in the media is immediate.
Yes.
And were you? And as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong. You were removed from board of directors that very day.
No. I resigned as the chairman.
You resigned. Was that? How does that look? Because were you ousted? I mean, or you resigned?
Okay.
What's the difference?
I don't want to get too technical, but this is corporate governance. The shareholders vote the board of directors in.
Mm-hmm.
So to get a board of director removed, it takes a shareholder vote. We didn't have a shareholder vote, and at the time I had 31%, and that would have been tough to get rid of me as a board of directors. The board of directors vote on who's the chairman. The board of directors asked me to step down as chairman because they felt like it would save the company. So Wednesday, the 11th, I'm still thinking the board of directors is still in John's camp. And I had a couple meetings with one or two directors that Thursday or Friday. I still thought the board of directors was in the John camp. It wasn't until Saturday night that he called an emergency meeting on Sunday that I went, oh my gosh, my own board is now going to use this to hurt me.
Because I think the act of stepping down was like almost came off as an admission of guilt.
I didn't have a choice.
You didn't have a choice.
Well, the board of directors,
They voted you out.
they would have voted me out if I hadn't stepped down.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow. What a nightmare that week must have been for you. I mean, just what going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was that that night, and then remember, by this time we had 2 PR experts on staff, and the Wednesday that this happened, 11th, was the last time they ever talked to me. So nobody on Papa John's has ever called to help. So you got 2 people that are supposed to be crisis management.
You're in the shitstorm and nobody from the company's reached out. Are you suspicious? You're like, "Well, what's going on here?"
I hired an agency out in L.A.
You had your own
at
people.
11 o'clock on Saturday night. That's when I realized we had a problem. Yeah.
Is this bullshit, these crisis management people? Because, the crisis wasn't managed. It was full-blown. Did they help?
I'd say the agency that I have today, Proactive, has turned it around, for sure. The agency we used in L.A., we've used them twice, and to your point, it hasn't been good for me. But Proactive's been very good. The position we're in today versus where it was at 7 months ago is night and day. We're now on the offensive.
Do you regret not? Do you have any regrets about how it all went down? Anything you would redo over?
Well, I'll be fine. I mean, I'll be fine. The damage done to the employees, I keep coming back to that, I know, and the franchisees, these people, the way they handled this and the way they went about this and their motives have hurt a lot of people. That part keeps me up at night. There has been nights where I lay in bed going, my gosh, that's not what I said, and that's not what I'm about. How, never thought my world was going to come to an end, but it's kind of scary because you kind of don't know how to get yourself out of this mess. And when you're painted in the corner of race, it's bad.
Oh, yeah.
It's a terrible position to be in, and especially when you're not. There's been days where I wish I'd have said something that was or acted like I was a racist, because then you get treatment or you get help or you say you're sorry. But that's not my nature. That's not what I am as a being. And that's how can you say you're sorry for something that
Or maybe correct the record. Be like, hey, I guess did you expect someone to do that for you?
Well, if this has caused a tremendous amount of damage. The company was making $150 million a year, now makes basically zero. If the board stops and says he's on probation, he's on the bench till we find out what happened here. They had the tape within a week. They could have said, "Oh my gosh, he didn't. What he said was anti-racist. I mean, it was a positive call. He's not. You're not portraying this right." If they would have characterized it in a truthful manner, we're out of this mess pretty quick. They didn't. Instead, they piled on. They dug themselves in a hole, and when they realized that what I said was nothing wrong with it, they'd gone so far that they couldn't turn back. And today they're in a position where they can't turn back. They can't take the hit and own the mistake of how they handle this, because why the shareholders and why the shareholders have not filed suit against the company because the stock's high. We'll talk more about that later. But why the franchisees haven't filed suit against the company, I don't know.
Did your personal net worth take a hit?
Well, when I was running the company, we were at $89 a share, and now I think we're at 65. But at one time, the stock got down to 39.
Right.
So it's 39 versus 65.
It's like half. I mean,
so the stock's actually doing well. There's a concept called private equity, and private equity is probably the most dangerous financial instrument ever created by mankind, because it inflates the values, the PEs, and so stock prices are kind of being pulled along by the private equity farce. And so Papa John's.
You think it's worth much less than it's being portrayed on the stock market?
Papa John's?
Yeah.
How is a company worth $2 billion that makes zero? Tell me.
I don't know.
2021 they may make $40 million, $50 million if they don't have any one-time write-offs that they've had for 3 years in a row. They keep having one-time write-offs year after year, which is pretty amazing.
Do you ever think about just dumping your stock now while you can?
Oh yeah, I've had.
Because you still have 17%, right?
No, at one time I had 31%, 10 million shares, and now I'm probably closer to 2 or 3 million shares.
So you've dumped a lot.
Dumped a lot of stock. It's my way of shorting the company.
Oh.
I don't think the company's worth anywhere near to $65 a share, unless Jeff Smith, who's the chairman of the board, who owns a company called Starboard Value, unless he's found a bigger sucker than he is to buy the company, at 70, 75, I don't think the company will stay at $65. I think the stock price is the last card in the house of cards to fall. But they may have the company sold. Got Rourke out there. You got Inspired Brands. Rob Lentz, the CEO, came from Arby's, which was Inspired Brands. So Inspired Brands maybe.
You think Arby's is behind the Pizzadilla?
Papadilla? You can't even.
Yeah.
I like Pizzadilla better than Papadilla.
Yeah. Do you think it's an abomination of your name that they use Papa in the Papadilla? Papadilla.
I didn't feel any animosity.
And do you think Arby's is behind the Papadilla?
I have no reason to know to believe
His
that.
influence.
Why would?
Because the CEO of Arby's came to Papa, right?
Yes.
So I'm saying that madness, the Arby's madness, he's not from the pizza category. He has no pizza experience.
Correct.
So he's coming to Papa John's and he's pitching this crazy nonsense like the Papadilla.
I don't know about
off
all
the
that.
wall.
I just know that the only way you can justify $65 a share is if you got a buyer. And so stay tuned the next 50 to 75 days.
See what happens.
And see if Inspired Brands don't come in and buy Papa John's.
Now, when
and by the way, if Jeff Smith can find a bigger sucker than he is, then good. Good for him.
Who is John? Who?
Jeff Smith is the chairman of Starboard Value.
Now he's a sucker. Why do you say that?
Because it's $65 a share.
Oh,
his strike price is 51, and the company's worth $2 billion, and it makes zero.
He's put money into the company to keep it.
$250 million.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Otherwise, the company was. This is how bad it got. The company was in violation of their covenants on their loans. So Smith had to come in and save the board.
Liquid injection.
Yeah.
To keep the stock price up.
To keep the company from going
running.
in default from the bank loans.
Wow.
Yeah.
Scary times to be that guy. He's
Well,
sweating, you think?
Nah, is he sweating? I don't think he's sweating. I think the board of directors of Papa John's was sweating before he put in $250 million. Now, if Inspired Brands or Rourke doesn't buy this company in the next 50 to 75 days, they're all going to be
We're
sweating
all
bullets.
sweating.
They're all going to be sweating bullets.
Right. And the pizza won't save you.
If they don't fix it.
Yeah. So I want to go back one more time to this big conspiracy, this phone call. Was there a moment where you had a moment of realization that you had been betrayed by everybody? And when was that moment?
I can remember talking to our ad agency and second biggest franchise March, April of 18, before this happened, and going, what's going on here? Because it wasn't, we felt something was going on, but we didn't know the conspiracy with Richie and Shapiro and Curley. We did not know that. And then
Dan has just walked into the room and disrupted everything. Why are we in the room, Dan?
I'm going to hook up a pizza can for later.
Okay, go ahead. Dan, maybe not.
We're done. In.
Dan has ruined the show. Thank you, Dan. Dan is angry. He looked up.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Dan, for being proactive. But go ahead.
Thank you, Dan. Let me get my thoughts together here.
You were talking about you were talking to the franchisee about the moment you realized.
We knew Richie was a bad actor March, April of 18. The call was the 22nd. I was going to fire Richie in July. So Richie knew I was going to fire him. So when did I realize it was as bad as it was? About a month or two after July 11th. Because the company every day would do something to make it worse. Instead of trying to salvage it or make it better or, to get the truth out there, they actually kept painting me in that race corner. And so my own company was trying to throw me under the bus. So that was, and so that month or two after it hit the wire, I knew the company was my worst enemy. And to this day, the company's still my worst enemy.
Right.
When it comes to the PR or the N-word, because they won't let it go. They keep trying to bring it up. Why? Because it's the only way to keep me out. Once we debunk the N-word, which we're going to when we get the tapes, then the company's got a big problem.